Hi friends, wish you happy learning. Stay tuned with the second part of the story lesson, Discovering Tut. The saga continues, which is penned down by A.R. Williams. So I shall be explaining you the details in the lesson. Carter took a few months to record the treasures found in Tut's grave. Then he began investigating his three coffins, which were nested one in another. In the first coffin, he found a piece of cloth with garlands of willow, olive leaves, a wild celery, lotus petals, and cornflower, which suggested that he had been buried in the month of March or April. When he reached the third coffin, he was in trouble. The body had hardened due to the resins which had cemented the body, and it had stuck to the bottom of the coffin, which was made of gold. Carter wondered what to do next because no amount of force could separate the two. Carter tried to loosen the resins by keeping the body in the hot sun. He kept the mummy in 149 degrees Fahrenheit heat for several hours, but still it remained stuck. He reported that the chisel could be used to cut down the mummy from the limbs and the trunk so that Tut's body could be taken out of the coffin. According to Carter, he had no choice other than to cut the mummy. He believed that if he hadn't done that, thieves would have removed the gold from the tomb and would have looted it. During Tut's time, the royal people were very wealthy and they had a belief that after death they could take the wealth along with them. For his life after death, he was given precious collars, necklaces with decorative patterns, bracelets, rings, amulets, ceremonial aprons, sandals, seats of fingers and toes, and now an iconic inner coffin and a mask. His men removed his head and every joint of his body. After they finished, they reassembled the remains in the wooden box with a padding filled with a layer of sand to conceal the damage. It was his new resting place. In the past few decades, archaeology has changed as it now focuses on the details of the life and the mysteries of death. Earlier, it was about focusing on the treasure. Now it uses more advanced medical technologies and tools for research. In 1968, an anatomy professor x-rayed King Tut's mummy and revealed that the front limbs and breast bone were missing. Now, with the advancement of technology, CT scan or a computed tomography can be a virtual image. Computed tomography CT scan can give a virtual image of the whole body. With the help of this technology, King Tut's body would be scanned to find answers to two questions: how he died and how old was he at the time of his death. His death was a shock to the royals also, as he was the last person of his family, and his funeral indicated the diminishment of his dynasty. However, what happened after his life death is still not clear. So, what happened after his death? It was still unclear. That's the father or grandfather, Amenhotep III. Amenhotep III was a very powerful pharaoh who ruled over a period of 40 years. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him and began the strangest period in the history of Egypt. He promoted the worship of Aten, the sun disk. Aten means the sun disk. He changed his name to Akhenaten, meaning servant of Athens. He also shifted a religious capital from Thebes to the new city Akhenaten called Amarna. Further, he attacked Amun, a god, smashed his images, closed his temples. Ray Johnson, director of University of Chicago, said it must have been a bad time for the empire as the family who ruled for centuries came to an end and Akhenaten moved in an odd direction. Another mysterious ruler, Smekenkare, succeeded him and died soon. Next, Tutankhamun, also known as a Tut, sat on the throne and ruled for 9 years. He worshipped god Amun in old ways. However, he died mysteriously. Tut is one of the mummies in Egypt, whereas until now, with the help of Egyptian Mummy Project, which started in 2003, almost 600 mummies have been recorded so far. King Tut's mummy was the first to be scanned by CT scan machine. Under the next phase of scanning, the mummies with the machine donated by the National Geographic Society and Siemens. The CT scan machine scanned the body by creating 1700 digital X-rays in a cross sections. Tut's head was scanned in 0.62 mm slices to record the tiny details. The resulting image was very strange. A team of radiology, forensics, and anatomy experts started examining the secrets of the grave that had been protected by flying goddesses for a long time. During the night, workmen climbed up on the ramp and the flight of stairs to carry the body from the tomb into the spinning sand outside. There was the body onto a hydraulic lift, then into the a trailer where the scanner was kept. After 20 minutes, two men ran towards the office nearby to bring two fans. The scanner was not working as the sand had entered the cooler fan. The guard joked that it was because of the curse of the Pharaoh, because they had removed his body. Once the fan worked, the procedure was finished. The data was checked in case of any losses, and then technicians returned the body to the pallbearers who carried him back to his tomb. In less than 3 hours, he was resting at the same place where the priest had laid him many years ago. As Zahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt, leaned over the body to have a look, he said that the mummy was in very bad condition because of what the British archaeologist Howard Carter did it to it in 1920s. He discovered King Tut's tomb in 1922 after a long search. The valuable treasures of Tut had been explored earlier too, but surprisingly they were complete. The treasure found at Tut's grave is the richest till date and has come to be known as the Pharaoh's legend. It has artifacts in gold which are eternally beautiful and as good as new. Such artifacts still get attention. Tut was buried with the things of our daily uses like a razor made of a bronze, games, linen undergarments, boxes of food, wine, which he could use in the next life. Dear students, we can understand one more point, that's the curse. A cobra killed Howard Carter's pet canary after the discovery of King Tut's tomb. So, these are some of the facts which revealed afterwards. Lord Carnarvon, the person who found the dig of King Tut's tomb, died shortly after the discovery due to a mosquito bite which turned into an infection. At that exact moment, the lights in Cairo mysteriously went out. So this was one of the fact revealed after the discovery of Tut's dead body. Lord Cornwallis' dog howled and dropped dead at the 2 in the morning when Lord Cornwallis died. So this is one more fact happened during that period. What is the interesting is that Howard Carter lived a decade after this major discovery, and it's very interesting that Howard Carter lived a decade after this major discovery. In 1923, another man involved in the opening of the tomb, George J. Gould, died as a result of a fever, followed by Cornwallis' half-brother Aubrey Herbert in 1923. Egyptologist H.E. Levin White, radiologist Sir Archibald Douglas Reid, Howard Carter's assistant Richard Bethel, his father Lord Westbury, Egyptologist A.C. Mace, James Bested in 1935, and finally Howard Carter in March of 1939. Although some believe that the deaths may just be coincidental, many believed that the deaths were a result of a mummy's curse. So, maximum people believe that those deaths were a result of a mummy's curse. So, this curse was one of the very important point can be taken in considering those deaths, and can we believe, or the maximum people believe, those deaths were a result of mummy's curse. It is believed several of the deaths could be linked to a release mold that had been trapped in the tomb and release. So many people believe that the deaths would be linked to there was a release mold that had been trapped in the tomb and release. New findings are showing that bacteria on the wall of the tomb might have been cause of the curse. The bacteria would release spores into the air, allowing to be breathed. This is the turn cause people who came into contact with these spores to become ill. So this may be a cause that the bacteria on the wall of the tomb might have been the cause of the curse or the cause of their death. Those bacteria would release spores into air, allowing to be a breath, and this is the turn cause people who came into the contact with these spores to become ill. These things are still a matter of a belief. Still, these things are not proved by the science. So these are the images which can reflect with the view of these images. So you can understand what might have happened, or what were the things during that invention, during that discovery, and how the things were investigated. So all the details can be understood with the help of these images. In this regard, we can put forward Zahi Hawass words, as he was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. And in this process, so we can put or we can reveal his words, what he said uh, regarding the procedure. To me, the story of Tutankhamun is like a play whose ending is still being written. The first act of drama begins in about 1390 BC, several decades before Tutankhamun's birth, when the great pharaoh Amenhotep III assumes the throne of Egypt, controlling an empire stretching 1,200 miles from Euphrates in the north of the fourth cataract of the Nile in the south. The king of the 18th dynasty is rich beyond imagining. Along with his powerful queen Tai, Amenhotep III rules for 37 years, worshipping the gods of his ancestors. Above all, Amun, while his people prosper, the vast wealth flows into the royal coffers from Egypt's foreign holding. Here he lives with his great wife, the beautiful Nefertiti. Together they serve as the high priests of the Aten, assisted in their duties by their six cherished daughters. All power and wealth is stripped from the Amun priesthood, and the Aten reigns supreme. The art of this period is also infused with a revolutionary new naturalism. The pharaoh has himself depicted not with an idealized face and youthful muscular body as were pharaohs before him, but as strangely uh, effeminate with a potbelly and a thick-lipped, elongated face. The end of Akhenaten's reign is cloaked in confusion, a scene acted out behind closed curtains. One or possibly two kings rule for short periods of time, either alongside Akhenaten after his death or both. If Act First is about tradition and stability, Act Two is a revolt. When Amenhotep III dies, he is succeeded by his second son, Amenhotep IV, a bizarre visionary who turns away from Amun and the other gods of the state, uh, Phanton, and worships instead a single deity known as Aten, the disk of a sun. In the fifth year of his reign, he changes his name to Akhenaten, he who is beneficial to the Aten. He elevates. Akhenaten means he who is beneficial to the Aten. He elevate himself to the status of living god and abandon the traditional religious capital at Thebes, building a great ceremonial city 180 miles to the north at the place now called Amarna. Here is one more point, the role of science and technology in the discovery of Tut. Egypt's famed king Tutankhamun suffered from a cleft palate and club foot, likely forcing him to walk with a cane, and died from complications from a broken leg, exacerbated by malaria, according to the most extensive study ever of his mummy. The findings were from 2 years of DNA testing and CT scan on 16 mummies, including those of Tutankhamun and his family. The team that carried out the study said in an article to be published Wednesday in the Journal of American Medical Association. It also established the clearest yet family tree for Tut. The study said his father was most likely Akhenaten, the pharaoh who tried to revolutionize ancient Egyptian religion to worship one god, while his mother was still unidentified sister of Akhenaten. Tut, who became pharaoh at the age of 10 in 1333 BC, ruled for just 9 years at the pivotal time in Egypt's history. While comparatively minor king, the 1922 discovery of his tomb filled with stunning artifacts, including the famed golden funeral mask, made him known the world over. Speculation had long swirled over why the boy king died at such a young age. A hole in his skull long fueled speculation he was murdered. An X-ray scan in 2005 ruled out that a finding that the hole was likely from the mummification process. The scan was also uncovered the broken leg. After the CT scan process, in the trailer, the technician showed a beautiful image of a tut on a computer screen. He showed the grey head, which was scattered in pixels, and spun it around. Next, a vertebrae, hand, rib cage, and transections of his skull were shown. As the work was done, the pressure was finally off from the shoulders of Zai Havas. While sitting in his chair, he smiled and said that he was revealed that nothing went wrong. He had not slept the previous night, and now, as the work was done, he would go and sleep. By the time they left the trailer, the wind had stopped, and the winter air was like death itself. Just above the tomb, the Orion constellation shone in the night sky, watching over the boy king Tut. So here, uh, the story or the here the lesson has ended. Thank a lot for watching this video. Stay tuned with the next lesson. Thank a lot.